Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today is the day of 21st May 2024. This is the reading for the collective. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're located, as far as the date is the right one, and hopefully this reading will benefit you in certain ways. When Five of Pentacles is about the things that we can improve today, that means it is a time for us to ask ourselves, in what areas of life do we feel the lack? Five of Pentacles usually it means poverty, scarcity thinking, people with disability. Um, in some cases, it can also explain the friendships during hardships. As you can see, there are two people in this picture. So, um, this is telling us that we are not alone. We have other people in our lives who are sharing some of the same or similar sentiments or situations. But in general, it is a time to ask ourselves what makes us feel the lack and scarcity in life. For some people, it is about money. For some people, it is about the emotional needs. For some people, it is about um, the scarcity of food and shelter. It is important to acknowledge our feelings of scarcity so that we can take actions upon them and to change the reality for the better. Um, I want to bring up this idea of feeling grateful. Um, I grew up in a um, in a culture where gratefulness is always being emphasized and being promoted, um, which I believe that it is true. Being grateful is something uh, that has a psychological value for every one of us. Um, because when we are grateful for what we have, even though things are not perfect, we can still see the bright sides of life in general, um, and focus less on the negative side of life. Um, but does it mean that we cannot acknowledge the sense of scarcity? I don't think so. I think it is important for us to honestly accept and acknowledge certain areas of life that we are not feeling okay with. Um, I'm not saying we should not be grateful. I think being grateful is a good way to live our lives. But at the same time, um, I think there's a need for us to feel, um, to be honest with ourselves. If something is lacking, no matter how grateful we are, it is still a lack. And while we acknowledge the lack and scarcity, we can still be grateful for the presence of them, because that becomes that will become a compass for us to improve our lives. Um, I'm bringing this up because sometimes I hear people saying that, oh, they should be more grateful about their lives because they have food, uh, and they have the money, they have the shelter, they have this and that, so they shouldn't be focusing on the lack. But I sometimes I have my personal point of view about this matter. I think everybody is different from um, each other. Maybe the scarcity is similar, but it holds a slightly different meaning for many of us. It depends from situation to situation and how we respond to scarcity and poverty. I just think that it is very important to acknowledge um, our true feelings. Even though it is still okay to be grateful, it is still a good thing to be grateful, but it's not a good thing to um, just fake it and feeling, oh, it's okay. Um, Life is not perfect. Uh, we gonna be okay. Um, I don't know why I would like to bring this up. It I don't mean to preach about it, but I feel like some people might benefit from this idea of acknowledging the lack, uh, the sense of lack, probably in some of the relationships that um, we we put a lot of effort in, and also some of the situations in our life um, that we might be judged by the others for feeling the lack. Um, so I would recommend that if you feel the lack, if you feel the scarcity, it depends who you are hanging out with. Some people, uh, they can share very honest conversations with us without being judgmental. Then it is perfectly fine and auspicious to discuss our sense of scarcity with these people. But sometimes there are people around us who we love dearly, or maybe they're just family and friends we are associated with. Um, they don't share the same point of view in regards to scarcity. And in this case, it is important to to face the fact that they don't share the same sentiments, or they don't share the same point of view about being lacking in something. Then there is no need to really explain too much to these people, because you know that they have a different standard. They think differently from us, and sometimes it can be problematic if we just share our thoughts of being uh, lacking in resources or lacking in love, whatever we feel lack about. And if we share these point of views with those people, they are not gonna share the same feelings. On the other hand, they might judge you or just judge the others for you know they would feel like, but why would you ask for that? Why are you not fulfilled by what you already have? Um, and I think this kind of judgment is everywhere. Um, because not not everyone will honor the feelings of scarcity of the others in our lives. Usually, the general population, we would just focus on ourselves. We probably have a hard time in thinking about the others and putting ourselves in the others' shoes. So I think it is very important to respect the scarcity thinking of some of the important, significant others in our lives. And if it's possible, don't shut them off immediately when you feel like, oh, they're just being problematic and being, argumentative, or maybe just being demanding in general. Um, they're speaking up and explaining their scarcity because of some reasons. Um, and I think for all of us, what we feel lack about and what we feel, um, the scarcity we feel about it, it is important to honor those feelings. Um, Even though I think most of us, we need to um, be tough on life in general and not overly focus on the lack. But today there is the value of not focusing on the lack, but be aware of the lack, be aware of the scarcity, because that will actually benefit us. Uh, it can be an enlightenment for us so that we will seek for the improvement and, get ourselves unstuck from a situation in the coming future. Um, it depends on your character. Maybe you would like to tell the others about what you are lacking in your life. And in this process, you might or might not gain the support, and you might be fulfilled by expressing this. There's no problem about it. But there are also some people who tend to, you know, think inside their head, and for these group of people, today probably will be a day where you are more introspective because you you are aware of the scarcity in your life, and this can make you feel a little bit, I would say, humble, because you don't, there are things that you don't have, and you want to have those things, but you just don't have it right now. And there's nothing wrong about being aware of the lack. um, Apart from acknowledging our scarcity and lack, um, for some of us, if we are having problems with some of the people um, we encounter, or we actually know each other for a long time, um, there might be situations where you feel like, oh, we don't have that emotional bond anymore. It's just uh, a sense of feeling the disconnection on a spiritual level. It can be temporary because they are also dealing with their own sense of scarcity. So when they are dealing with this sensation and you are dealing with the same thing at the same time, um, unless unless things really click between you two, uh, there can be moments where you feel like, oh, why my concerns are not being taken care of by them, and at the same time they can feel the same. And I just want to bring out the message that it is unnecessary to think, uh, to overthink about the other's response, because they are dealing with issues at the same time while we are dealing with issues too. So it's a time to try to reach the answer by ourselves, um, but not overly relying on the outside world, because they are dealing with problems too. For some of you, today might be a day where you feel the presence of support when there's a hardship going on. And this can be a huge blessings if you have people who are staying with you, um, or maybe just spiritually be with you, uh, and they understand your struggle. Um, and today is a very, very good day to prove the support between friends, especially in circumstances that are unfortunate and problematic. And for some of us, um, it is important to recognize and to be grateful for what we already have. Even though the situation is not perfect, we can still be happy and be grateful for what actually works in our lives. Of course, there are things that don't work in our lives, but doesn't mean we have to feel like being a victim or being, you know, just um, mm, not fulfilled. Because even though our hardships are really, hardships, it is not funny. Is difficult. It requires patience. But once you move beyond this hardship, it actually builds your character in life. And every time you overcome a hardship, you grow a lot. And it is important to understand and to acknowledge that um, living as a human is and facing the problems in our lives is part of life, and it is also associated with the birthing process of human being. Um, it is painful and difficult, but once we get through it, we have more power than before to have a better life in the future. So, on a physical level, some of you might be visiting places that are very old, and probably some places that are requiring some of the care, and fixings. There might be old buildings that you will be visiting. There might be organizations Um, you might consider volunteering in the organizations that help the poor. Um, some of you might also deal with people with disabilities. So you might be hanging out with them, or you might communicate with them in person. So if they need some support from you, and if you are available to do so, um, it is a very good thing to be able to help those who are disabled. And for some of you, it is important to realize the fact that if you are not disabled, you have all the chances and all the abilities and physical strength to pursue what you want to pursue and to take a chance, in life. Some people, they just have to be very focused on the healing of their disability, um, and they just don't have the privilege to act freely and to pursue their dreams naturally. So if you're dealing with people with disability today, I think there will be moments that you will have a sensation that your life is actually not too bad, even though there are some troubles, even though there are things to be fixed, but it's actually really not that bad because you have the ability to you know to manifest things easier than some of the other people who are dealing with disabilities, and you know um, they just need to be extra patient to do everything in comparing to regular people. So patience is always recommended during this time, um, because Five of Pentacles is also about our limits. We might want to do a lot of things at once, but maybe we just don't have that energy and physical strength to do so. And it is important to acknowledge our feelings, our body, um, so that we can recuperate and continue our journey. So I would wrap this up right now, and I appreciate your time and participation. If you like this reading, please consider giving it a like. If you like the content, please consider subscribing. I highly appreciate that. Thank you and have a great day. See you next time.